All right, everybody, welcome back once again. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and watch my humble little videos. So check out my website here, danceofthecosmos.com. Again, my name is Dan Hendricks, and again, we are going to further our discussion of the Nakshatras. And we're going to go ahead and, in this video, we're going to explore the Nakshatras of Saturn and how it can teach us more about the nature of Saturn. So with that being said, let's go ahead and check out Saturn's Nakshatras here. Let's dive right into it. I love these Nakshatras, first and foremost. Absolutely love this idea, because the reason why I wanted to do this video is because what is absolutely fascinating to me about Nakshatras is how everything that we know of what the planets are said to be, of, you know, Saturn representing grief and territories and being, or territories, grief and, you know, difficult circumstances basically in our lives, you know, like painful things, right? And the things that we don't want to experience. But at the same time, as we go into these Nakshatras are beautiful energy. And so we're going to learn a lot about Saturn that is going to be kind of different. I know it has skewed my and just changed. Whoop, look at this. This is totally different. Here I was thinking, you know, of Saturn as this cruel planet, the cruelest of the cruel planets, but ultimately the Nakshatras suggest something different about Saturn. And this is very similar to what we've learned about Venus and similar to what we've learned about Mars as well. So anyhow, forget what you know about Saturn. Let's explore Saturn's Nakshatras now. So Pushya Nakshatra. Well, the first thing without Pushya, before we even get into this, when it comes to Muhurta, to selecting, because Muhurta is all about time and the various timings to find an auspicious time. Well, anytime you have the moon in Pushya, that's always, it's supposed to be the most splendid nakshatra. Like, it's supposed to be the most, one of, if not the most auspicious nakshatra. So before we even get into that, let's just keep that in mind. Very fascinating idea, because it belongs to Saturn. It's like, really? The moon would be in Saturn nakshatra when we know Saturn-Moon conjunctions don't indicate the easiest things in life? Anyway, so Pushya, what does Pushya mean? Pushya means, the definition of Pushya is nourishment, flower, the best. So here's the idea, you know, it's just, and what do we know? Like, flowers are just a divine source of consciousness, basically. And they represent beauty and just the wonderful things that can be attained in the world. Now, when we look at the deity of Pushya, it's Brihaspati. And what's interesting is Brihaspati is a name of Jupiter, actually. But also, I think it's because of the deity Brihaspati was the guru of the Devas. So the Devas are sort of like, for lack of a better term, just to kind of generalize, that are like the angelic forces. And Brihaspati is like the guru, like the counselor who gives them wise advice and everything. And so, and it's very, very auspicious deity. And then when we go down here, we go to the Shakti power. The Shakti power of this, the energetic field of this nakshatra of Pushya is to create spiritual energy. What a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing to create, right? And the result of this Shakti is the creation of spiritual energy. So this is all about bringing up spiritual, positive, blissful energy. And what we're going to see here and how this really ties into Saturn is when we look at the basis above and the basis below, which is the basis above is we have sacrificial worship, you know, where we're giving something where we're devoted to the cause, so we're giving something up of ours. And then on the other hand, the basis below here is the worshiper. So it's the uniting, basically, of the two fronts of sacrificial worship and the worshiper. So it's this is how we're creating spiritual energy, is by giving something up, and in pure devotion, which is really what this Pushya is representing, which is to give into a force that's greater than ourselves, and that's why it's such a wonderful nakshatra, because it's about the creation of spiritual energy, which we create spiritual energy when we are giving up our ego, which is a lot of what Saturn is about. And then we can see that the nature of this nakshatra is swift and light, which means that it's just going about the worship, and it's doing it in a very efficient manner and getting it, and that is just what needs to be done. And so that's how we can look at Pushya as showing that Saturn is related to the creation of energy by laying ourselves down at the altar of life, and offering ourselves up. And that's how we're creating the spiritual energy. And that's why it's known to be such a wonderful nakshatra. And then we come to the next one, which is Anuradha. Well, Anuradha is defined as subsequent success and following Radha. Well, Radha is the consort of Krishna, which is basically Krishna's #1 devotee. So following in that line of devotion. And we're going to see that here, when we get into the Shakti power of Anuradha Nakshatra. And then subsequent success, it's like subsequent means that it's following in a sequence, in a line of events. And so it's like gaining success through many steps. And then when we go and we look at the deity of Anuradha, it's Mitra, which it says here, divine friend, Lord of compassion. Well, Mitra and Varuna in Rig Veda, so in the Vedic times, Mitra and Varuna were kind of like one and the same. And one of the things that is said about Mitra is to just kind of sum it up from what I've researched about it. Varuna is said to rule like the night, and then Mitra is said to rule the day, and Mitra is also said to bring about like the daytime. But Mitra, so that's one way to look at Mitra, and I don't really think that, and I guess you can tie that into here because we're talking about subsequent success, right? Day and night. It's all, and Mitra is about bringing the daytime in. It's all about the dawn time, bringing in the new daylight. But Mitra is also related to oaths and like the protection of oaths. And Mitra, being related to Varuna, has a say in Rita, which Rita is like, it's like the basis, it's like cosmic order. It's like the basis of Dharma. And so, so we can see that about that, which just shows that Mitra is very. Another thing I've heard about Saturn's nakshatras in general is I've heard this said by Ernst Wilhelm when he talked about in his nakshatras course, where he talked about Saturn's nakshatras are a little bit more fated nakshatras, and we can kind of see that. I mean, Mitra is kind of like he's bringing up the sun. It's like what's constantly happening every day. Subsequent success. It's like following Radha. It's like it's always happening, like we're in the cycle of just kind of doing our job. And then when we come down here to the Shakti power, the energetic field of this nakshatra of Anuradha, the power of that Shakti power, that Shakti energy is that of worship and devotion. So it's about really giving yourself up to something. Just like Radha, like I said here, like following Radha, like following in the way of being completely devoted to Lord Krishna. And that's the idea of worship and devotion. And by doing this, by approaching life with this energy of just like, this is what I need to do. I know that this is the thing that I need to help create, like with Mitra, talking about supporting Rita or supporting the cosmic order of things, the cosmic dharma. Well, by just worshiping that this is what I need to do and I'm devoted to this task, it brings about the result of this Shakti energy is honor and abundance. So we're getting what it is that we need, and we're getting respect and esteem from being devoted to what we do. And then for the basis above is like, on one hand is ascension, which is rising up to become something greater. And then on the bases below is descent, of coming down to earth, basically. So you have one which is like rising up into the heavens. So it's like this balancing, and this is kind of the idea of worship and devotion. So worship, devotion is ascension. It's about letting go of our ego so we get something better out of it. And then we'll see that the nature of Anuradha is soft and friendly. So it's a very easy energy to feel. It's very much, and it's not like a sharp, hot, pungent, which is really funny because I would expect, personally, I would expect Saturn to be like one of the fierce Nakshatras, or to be all the fierce Nakshatras. I would expect Saturn to be, you know, some of the sharp, hot, pungent Nakshatras, or something of that nature, something terrible. But none of these Nakshatras represent that. It's absolutely fascinating. And so with Anuradha, what we see is Saturn has the quality of being devoted and really, you know, and getting esteem and honor because we're able to ascend. We're able to give ourselves to something greater. So, and then by giving ourselves something greater, we get a reward out of that because we're following in the steps of devotion to something greater. So we can see that that's kind of some more understanding of what Saturn represents. And then we come down to Saturn's final nakshatra here, which is Uttara Bhadrapada. Uttara Bhadrapada. This is later, this means later auspicious foot. So this is again, like when I was talking about Jupiter's nakshatra, auspicious foot is like a great place to be standing in. And what's interesting is Adhir Budnya, there's an N missing in here when I wrote it. Ahir Budnya, which is the dragon of the depths. That's how it is kind of translated here. The thing, this is related to in Uttara Bhadrapada, which is Jupiter's nakshatra. It's Aja Ekapada, which I talked about as like the one-footed goat, but it's more representing like the steady, firm, unmanifest part of creation. Whereas Ahir Budnya represents the dragon of the depths. Again, this is about the unfest, but it's like the unmanifest. This is about like the stirring energy of the unmanifest part of the world. But it's also in the form of like a dragon. And what's really fascinating, side note here, it's always funny how you see these things. I have a friend whose 5 years old, female child, this girl is 5 years old. Her moon is in Uttara Bhadrapada, and she is obsessed with dragons. Absolutely fascinating. Fascinating stuff. Anyway, so it's about that swirling, it's like a deep swirling energy that hasn't quite come to like fruition yet. Whereas Aja Ekapada is sort of like the solid, stable stability that supports like everything that is manifest. Now, what we'll see here is the Shakti power of Uttara Bhadrapada is bringing of the rain. So, of all the Saturn nakshatras, this is literally the most negative like connotation associated with all of these nakshatras. Very fascinating. It's just this idea of bringing of the rain. You know, it's the Shakti power to bring the rain. Which, and what is rain? Rain is comes from the clouds, and it's something that falls to the ground that nourishes Mother Earth. And usually is something that we need, and that helps us, and it's very auspicious. And then we'll see here that the Shakti power is bringing of the rain, and the Shakti result from this energetic field of Uttara Bhadrapada is stability of the three worlds, which that's very fascinating. Because I know in like in Kashmir Shaivism, it's talked about how there's like how we have three bodies basically, right? Like we have the physical body, and then we have like the astral sheath, and then we have like Satchitananda. I'm pretty much massacring that. It's something I've been just learning about recently, so forgive me for massacring that. But anyway, and then even in In the Upanishads, they talk about how there's like three different states. There's like the awake state, the sleeping state, and then it's like the deep sleeping state. So there's a lot of talk of different bodies, different worlds, the physical realm, the astral realm, the causal realm. There's a lot of these different ideas of there being three different worlds or three different bodies in a lot of like Vedic teachings and understandings. And so anyways, it's the bringing of the rain, but this rain is bigger than just the rain that falls to the earth, because it talks about the stability of the three worlds. And when we're talking about the stability of the three worlds, this is all of existence. This isn't just physical existence. This is, like an astral existence. This is a nourishing, like a causal existence. Every frame of Shakti that is like manifesting in this world. Because Ahir Budnya, again, when we're talking about the dragon of the depths, it's like at the depths, it's like the unmanifest. It's this unmanifest energy. And which is very much related to, it's like basically the difference between Shiva and Shakti. And so anyways, so then we're going to also see that the basis above on one hand is raining clouds, and then the basis below on the other hand is the growing of plants. So it's like we have the raining clouds that support the growing of plants, and the growing plants that need the raining clouds. So it's this energy of uniting and creating growth. And we'll see that it's a fixed nakshatra, which fixed means that it's very much about stability and staying the same and making things better in the long term, right? So we see here with this Uttara Bhadrapada is Saturn here has the energy to bring what is necessary to support all of existence and to nurture all of existence, because raining clouds, is the process, and bringing of the rain. And that's also another thing about Uttara Bhadrapada. It's not actually, whereas the basis above is raining clouds and growing of plants, but the Shakti power is the bringing of the rain, is it's bringing in the thing that's going to be of greatest support. Like it can bring that to us. So we see that Saturn is related to, getting what it is that we need, but not just for us. It's not just for us, it's for all of everything, and everybody is going to benefit. And that's one of the things that we know about Saturn. Like Saturn rules the sign Aquarius. That's his Mula Trikona sign. That's where he draws his power from. And if we think about Aquarius, Aquarius is a man holding a pitcher with water pouring in it and water pouring out. And it's very much a sign that is all about showing that of helping other people, working for a greater cause than ourselves. And there's a lot of indications of Aquarius that suggest this, and Saturn draws his power from that. We know that Saturn represents the masses. Saturn is a servant planet and does just what it is that he has to do. But we see that energy of being a servant planet, that energy of the masses from Pushya, what that shows is that it's like Saturn does that because he's offering himself. It's not like a servant is someone who follows the dictates of what's coming at him. And we'll see that he follows those dictates because he's giving himself up. He's not into like I'm not doing this so I can become the greatest thing. I'm doing this to make the world a better place. I'm fulfilling my role. And it's about sacrificial worship. And that's kind of the Sudra, that's how we can look at the Sudra mentality of Saturn, is it's like, I'm doing what I can to make this world a better place. And I'm just going to give myself up. And then with Anuradha, we see that it's about worship and devotion. It's the Shakti power of actually being devoted and following Radha. So this is the Shudra energy of following something greater, being a part of something greater. And also Saturn is known as the planet of greatness. And Saturn is a planet of greatness because he's devoted to what he does. He's following the system. He's following you know, the dictates of whatever it is that he's given within his life to work with to make the best out of the situation. And he makes the best out of the situation in a way that is way bigger than just himself. In fact, it's not even just for other people. It's supporting the three worlds, all of creation, all of manifestation. And so, and helping all of that grow by the bringing of the rain is like inviting in the what is going to work best. So anyhow, very, very fascinating to see that about Saturn being everything that I've heard about Saturn, especially when I was first learning astrology, was just like, just bad, bad, bad. And then you start understanding the nakshatras related to Saturn, and you're like, this sounds like the best planet of them all. And actually, I really do believe Saturn is the greatest planet of them all. Because what Saturn ultimately shows us is if we can really accept the lessons that Saturn is trying to teach us. And remember, lessons, because Brihaspati, guru of the devas, right? The wisest counsel of them all. So what Saturn's wanting us to really learn is to give ourselves up into the fire, you know, and not make it about ourselves. Always work for a greater cause, extend ourselves and our hearts out to encompass all that we can in life, because that's the most nourishing, the best possible usage of our energy. And that's really how we create spiritual energy, is by being devoted and working to for something greater. And that's where we really get the results from that. Like we see here, the results of Anuradha is honor and abundance. So it's this idea of we achieving greatness by not making it about ourselves and opening our hearts to the rest of the world. So anyhow, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I very much appreciate it. And if you like what you see, please subscribe, and namaste.